Hi, Michael Lyons from Recovery Systems with Myren Fu. We're up to episode 3, and today we're going to talk about tools. Episode 2, by the way, if you didn't see it, was on sleep. So do backtrack and have a look at that and see what we had to say about sleep. So let's talk about tools. So kicking off, here's one that everyone should be doing, and it costs little or nothing. And that's active recovery. Thoughts?
Yeah, active recovery, which is what we mentioned in the previous episode.
Yep.
What we call the work-ins. Not usually mentioned because it's not sexy or anything. Workouts are sexy, work-ins are not. But what if I told you that they are the ones that not only would help you mitigate injuries, allow you to train harder and longer in the future, but really pretty much you won't have as much soreness, so that you'll be better recovered for your next training.
Yeah, I love the idea of work-in. So we discussed this last episode. Really good point to bring up again. If you ask most athletes to have a rest day, they'll go nuts.
Yeah.
So let's call it something different. Let's call it an active recovery day. Let's call it a plus day.
Yeah.
Let's give it some name that sounds really positive, because it is. And how about spending 20 minutes foam rolling, stretching, doing some yoga moves, doing something that is different to what you normally do. So in the image that I've got on the screen, I've got swimming. Let's say you're working out in the gym, you're doing HIIT exercises, or you're a runner or a cyclist. I think swimming is a good complement. And the reason why, the exercise, the movement patterns are quite different to what you're used to. That's giving your body and your nervous system a rest. It's also moving things and allowing blood flow in different areas. I think it's weight bearing, for example. So you're taking the load off. And here's one that I love. If you're not a very good swimmer, 20 minutes of swimming will kill you. So that's going to tick the box. I've coached a lot of adult swimmers over the years, by the way, and people that grew up from countries that don't have swimming pools. For example, North Asia, very few swimming pools there. And these guys get a tremendous workout in 20 minutes just because their body's not, cardiovascular system is not swim efficient, because swimming's hypoxic. You can't breathe all the time. It's not like you're running. Your face is in the water, then you come up for a breath. I'm talking about freestyle, by the way, not breaststroke, which is kind of cheating when it comes to breathing. But also freestyle is allowing the body to lengthen out, and involves more of a positive movement pattern than say breaststroke. So I think swimming is a great one. Walking is another good one.
Yep. I think flow work is really good as well. But then again, there are many kinds of flows. So again, some people would do like a yoga flow. We do other kinds of flow movement patterns, but flow is basically, it doesn't have a pattern per se. Just move in directions where you don't usually move. And I think one of the tools that are great for that is actually the Viper. The Viper makes you move in directions that you don't normally do. And you realize you don't usually get injured in the things that you do, but you get injured in the things that you don't do. Like, for example, moving out of a direction where you're not used to. So that would really help. Yeah,
that's a very good point. Okay, so let's talk about things that you can do. Now, I've actually, in brackets, I've put a frequency here, which is for discussion. For example, active recovery should be a daily thing. Maybe it means you're getting off the train one stop early and walking for that last part of the journey, or you're doing a before and after work walk just to get the body moving. Quick case study. Some of the two of my triathletes that I've coached over the years in the past that I had the most satisfaction out of, where it wasn't the guys that ended up going on to world champs. That was all good and a very important goal for them. But the two that I'd like to highlight were two guys that lost 30 kilos each. So this is life-changing. And so what we had them doing as a part of their training program, because they were too big to run, we got them walking morning and evening. And it was like 40 minutes morning, 40 minutes evening. Guess what? The weight fell off because we weren't overstimulating. It was appropriate. We created soft tissue resilience and so on. So that whole active warm-up or that active movement morning and evening was a big contributor to helping them to drop weight, so that it was then healthy for them to actually start moving a little quicker by jogging and running. And so a couple of good things simply out of just walking. Let's talk about foam rollers and balls and their frequency as far as you're concerned, Myren.
Man, foam rollers and balls, I think they have been popularized by CrossFit. Every time I go to a CrossFit gym, from even 10 years ago, I always see people on rollers and balls for 15 to 20 minutes even before they start working out. It's almost been, if I'm right to say, it's almost been something that's cool. But people need to understand what do they do. And contrary to popular belief, they don't break up the myofascia. The myofascia are as thick as cables, so it's impossible to break them up. But what the foam rollers do is that they can help to flush blood into the muscles. So if, let's say, you have a restriction in shoulder flexion, so you can't raise your hands up, and you need to do like overhead presses, or you need to do freestyle swimming. So what a foam roller does is that it helps to dull the nociceptors or the pain receptors within the region as well. And it gives you that temporary release or range of motion in which you can act. And that's my take on foam rollers. And let's see what Michael has.
Oh, yeah. No, look, I totally agree. So I see it as being a range of motion device. And I think I think there's an appropriate frequency for the use of all tools. Some of them are, in the case of foam rollers, I think it's a weekly, not necessarily a daily thing. And it's to dial in that range of motion, because whatever you're doing, if you're doing consistent sport that has restrictive movement patterns, running, cycling, even some gym work to a certain degree, then the muscles are going to shorten. So we want to set them on a path opposite to that to be able to lengthen out so that the range of motion is restored. To your very good point, it's not what we do often that will break us. It's when we're getting into unusual movement patterns. So let's prepare the body for that by foam rolling. Sports massage. So I'll call this sports massage, not a relaxing massage. So I used to prescribe in my athlete training programs a massage in a deloading week, knowing that a good sports masseuse is going to break down scar tissue, this is another range of motion activity in my view, but you're going to be worse before you're better. So that's why do not do a sports massage in a critical or a key week or in a loading week necessarily. Do it in a deloading week, or do not do it close to a key event like a race, because you're going to be worse for maybe 72 hours, maybe 1 to 3 days. But it's necessary to take a step back in order to move forward. Thoughts?
Absolutely agree. Again, I think the important thing is to know that we're talking about sports massage here, not the regular massage. And sports massage, again, they definitely help to break down the scar tissues and stuff, especially techniques like active release techniques. And also they help to drain the lymph nodes and stuff like that. Really good, but from what I've seen in terms of case studies, people perform really badly or they get injured if they do a sports massage before a heavy lift or event. How about, Michael, what's your thoughts on regular massage then?
If it's a social thing, my wife wants to do a spa day, there's a benefit in that, right? Happy wife, happy life. there's a benefit in that. It might be going to like the local foot massage place, and it's giving you some time out to have a chat. I think that's part and parcel of recovery, and just keeping a keeping a balance about things as well. It shouldn't all be about your sport. So quite often we're passionate people when it comes to sport and exercise, but there needs to be a healthy balance. So some of that is letting go and doing something that may not be purely a sports massage, but the benefit is you're doing it because of other important things in your life.
And I do see a benefit in this kind of massages where it's pretty much soft techniques, because they really help you get into the parasympathetic mode. Rest, relax, and digest.
So a lot of people fall asleep, snore loudly, and so on. The type of sports masseuses that I've known and used over the years, typically I'm crying after a period of time, because they will find areas of avoided maintenance, deferred maintenance, and things that need attention. So that's very important to listen to your body. If they're finding something, then there's obviously an overuse pattern there. And look, nobody's biomechanically perfect. So we need to be aware of that and compensate. I would be talking back to my coach about, hey, you know what, my shoulders are really sore. I'd be looking at their movement patterns, particularly when it comes to swimming. Classic one with swimmers and over movement patterns. Swimmers that swim with a straight arm rather than a bent arm. If they're dropping their arm down straight, I'll just get into view, then you're actually overloading this area, rather than with a bent arm as you enter the water, then you're loading your lats. So your lats and your body rotation are what will drive you forward along with your kick. But a straight arm, you're overloading tendons and ligaments. They're going to break in time. Whereas if you're loading the big muscles, you create this nice efficient engine. So I'd be reporting back to your coach, hey, I've had consistent issues with this area. When I've gone to a massage, it's found me out. I think it's good feedback, actually. I popped up on the screen percussion technology.
Such a big thing now, Michael. It's everywhere. Everyone's selling it. What are your thoughts on it?
Range of motion activity. Do not do it on tired muscles. Do not. If you've just gone and run a marathon, do not put a percussion gun anywhere near you, because you're already in trauma. Don't put additional trauma on top of that. I see its benefit in being used in a rest week, and it has potential restorative qualities, along with the same sort of concept, range of motion as foam rolling and the massage. It's something you can do yourself, or in my case, I can't reach all the way around my back. It may be a partnering thing where someone else is helping you with it. There's my take. What do you think?
My take on percussion guns is almost pretty much exactly like what Michael mentioned. I would use it like a foam roller. The foam roller, when I use it before training, it's fast rolls, fast 20-stroke rolls, just to get the blood flow, just to get range of motion, just to get the nervous system and the body excited. And that's what the percussion gun does. It gets the muscles excited with blood flow and the percussions. And you don't want to excite your body anything outside of training, because it's really been excited during training. So to get a range of motion, that's number one. And again, if you're going to excite your body throughout the day, you're not going to be in a sympathetic mode.
So I wouldn't be using them for warm-up, because it's going to generate micro blood flow rather than generating body across the whole limb. I think there are better things to use as a warm-up. We're going to cover them in a future episode. So there's their take on guns. Very popular, very trending. Lots of them out there. Very interesting topic to cover. So I'm going to cover a couple of techniques that are quite Asian-centric. In fact, I'm going to do a bit of a shout-out to Alwyn Sports Massage, who's using a bunch of quite cool techniques. He's a great sports masseuse that I see as being using a lot of nice technology in order to get good results. With cupping, it's generally stimulating micro blood flow. Your experience with cupping?
I love cupping, and why I would suggest anyone to do cupping. Obviously, Michael would have his take on that. It's what cupping does is that it helps to lift the subcutaneous or the top layer of your skin up to promote blood flow and healing. And that is what it does. Because if you notice, people who complain of pain, let's just take for example lower back pain and tightness. If you were to roll their skin on their lower back, you realize that not only is it sticky, but it sort of hurts, right? So when they go for a sports massage or any of the Swedish massage, when they actually roll the skin up and you notice that it hurts and it's all pieced together, it means that there is no flow in between the layers, between the skin and the flesh. And what cupping does is that it helps to alleviate that pain and tightness by just creating space between the subcutaneous layer and what's underneath.
Yeah, a really cool thing from ancient Chinese medicine that's really relevant today. Interestingly enough, we saw some of the leading Olympians, turning up to a swim with cupping marks on their backs. All of a sudden, in recent times, it became a thing.
Oh yeah.
So, and then people, oh, what's that? You've been eaten by an octopus.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's some benefit to it. So one other area, and by the way, this isn't an exhaustive list of tools. These are some topical tools that we'd like to talk about. You can message us at High Performance on the Instagram, or message us at Recovery Systems if you have any other questions on tools. So acupuncture and dry needling. If you ask a dry needler, is it the same as acupuncture? They'll say, no, we're quite different. If you ask an acupuncture the same question, they each have their own story. And I would summarize both as a positive disturbance to the status quo. Mm-hmm. And so acupuncture tends to focus, and I'm gonna bring this down to a very simple summary of what can be a very complex discussion. Acupuncture is focusing on the meridians.
Yeah.
Whereas dry needling is about disturbing an area, disturbing in a good sense, to create blood flow and reconnect the movement patterns.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the ways you can tell the difference between dry needling and acupuncture is the direction of the needle that's going into you. Acupuncture, it's always from an angle. Dry needling, it's always on a perpendicular angle. And you need to see how deep the needle penetrates you as well. Acupuncture, it's really much on the surface. Dry needling, it's all the way in. It's really much to turn off the muscle spindles so that once it shuts off, it gives you that range of motion and it doesn't spasm. I mean, the whole spasming of dry needling is such that it turns off those receptors so that, hey, the tightness is gone, all right? So it's very different from dry needling in the sense that, like what Michael mentioned, dry needling is really, acupuncture, it's all about creating that disturbance on a fascial level. And yeah.
Very good. That's a good take on tools.
Yeah.
Not an exhaustive one, as we mentioned, but and if you've got any tools you'd like us to comment on or talk on, then do contact us at Higher Performance on Instagram or Recovery Systems on Instagram. So that's the end of our tools topic. Next, we're going on to myth busting ice. Do join us then.